In Aspen in 1951, a conference about the future of photography was held, involving the most important photographers, writers, and intellectuals at the time, such as Minor White, Ansel Adams, and Dorothea Lange. This conference gave birth to Aperture, which today is the leading foundation on photography in the world. We had the wonderful opportunity of speaking with Aperture's director Chris Booth about its mission, activities, and even a glimpse into its future.
The original mission of Aperture was to create common ground for the advancement of photography. It was also to describe photography's new potentials and create a forum for photographers to speak directly to one another. Things that the founders felt things weren't happening by other means. And the photographers who were involved in the founding of Aperture really wanted their work to be understood as art. They thought like artists, they pursued their work like artists. The precise manner in which their work was presented was part of their art, and in that regard, they really wanted to promote understanding of those values and build really what has become the culture we all work in today, which is a broad culture of photographers respected as artists. So, and that's really where we began and what we still do. Aperture began just as the magazine in 1952. By the early 60s, actually the first book that Aperture published was an issue of the magazine to which hardcovers were attached, and it was distributed through book distribution networks to bookstores. And that began Aperture's role as a book publisher, which we have a very distinguished part of the history of photography in that regard, really developing the book as a work of art in its own right. It wasn't. We were based in 23rd Street for many years, where there was a little gallery, little print sales gallery, not unlike the one we're in now. In 2005, we moved into this space. That was a moment of kind of profound change in the field of photography. There was the sort of digital revolution well underway on the one hand, but there was also the emergence of it wasn't the emergence of photographers as artists, it was the moment where value was attached to photographers as artists, and Chelsea was the sort of epicenter of that in terms of the gallery world. So one of my predecessors decided we should be in the gallery sector, we should have a space like this. We love this space. It is joyous, but it is on the fourth floor of a rambling building, and frankly, Chelsea rents are no longer affordable for us. So we really spent the last 2 or 3 years thinking about how our Aperture should look like 25 years from now, how we should function economically, culturally. We moved all our major exhibition initiatives to work within partnerships with people like SF MoMA and Foam and CO Berlin. I mean, we work with many institutions around the world creating shows that travel, but we don't show them here necessarily. And we're really focusing more on being a national and global brand for photography, manifesting, everywhere from San Francisco to Johannesburg, and including with shows, but with everything sort of underpinned by a publication. That's
what still your main.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the world has changed so much. Historically we would have thought of ourselves as a one publisher competing with others. Now we really think of ourselves as serving the world of the book in a broad way, the art of the book, as well as obviously the voices of photographers and thinkers within our field, and where the book, we're a bit like a museum turned upside down. A museum leads with the exhibition, and they think of the publication as a sort of complementary activity necessary and supporting their exhibition projects. We're about the other way around. We start with the publication. We start with, often it's the artist's idea for how they want their work to be manifested. Sometimes, well, with the magazine, it's really us curating around an idea in photography. But we start with the publication, and then we build programs around it. I'll give you one example. We did an issue of the magazine called Prison Nation, which all the issues around criminal justice in America are very hot at the moment, and it is a really vital issue. And then we had a gap in the program here in the gallery, and we decided to just roll the magazine out onto the walls of the space and then use that as a platform for debates and presentations. And the first conversation we had about photography and criminal justice, the line was to the end of the block. I mean, it was incredibly successful and really touched the nerve. And we had no plans to travel that exhibition. It was just an opportunity arose in our calendar. We got some help to do that. That exhibition now is traveling for several years to many other venues. It keeps that issue and the photographer's work alive, and so we start with the publication and things unfold from there. Be they conversations, events, talks, exhibitions, exactly.
Yeah.
We are all photographers. You could ask, well, what differentiates
that's
great artists from everyone else making pictures? And it's not actually necessarily the quality of the pictures. I mean, the great thing about the iPhone is we can all take very high quality pictures.
Yeah.
That is part of the nature of our world. We're surrounded by good pictures. I think it's the context that the artist puts their work in. It's the way it can change or alter consciousness or impact us. I'll give you a couple of examples. The era before Nangold, I mean, Nangold was also part of this. The era beforehand was characterized by photographers who had a sort of craftsmanship virtuosity, if you know what I mean. You think of Cartier-Bresson and the decisive moment. I was going to say is in terms of the aesthetics of photography, Nangold, she marked the sea change away from virtuosity. So she basically used the aesthetic of the snapshots, the everyday way, random, slightly, sometimes with mistakes, the way that we just record our lives. So she in a way marked the end of a sort of craftsmanship virtuosity. So now no longer is a premium placed on that. We happen to have in front of us Naya Hatakeyama's book, which is, I mean, he is a technical perfectionist, and there's of course many photographers in the world have a unique craft, or they've taken the craft of photography to a new place in terms of trying something new with it. But I would say a lot of it's not about the value of work is not based any longer on technical perfection. It's ideas. It's ideas and a contribution to culture. I mean, the book that we're bringing out this fall, that is, and it's an exhibition, and we have many, it will go to many museums, and it's called The New Black Vanguard, and it is, it's essentially, we recognise a movement taking place in the field, which is led by young black photographers under 30. I mean, they're really young, who've brought issues of race representation and beauty together in this place between fashion and art, and they're creating, I mean, there's many dimensions to it, but they're creating a new way of thinking about beauty, of looking at the black subject and ourselves. They've taken over this sort of, an area that was traditionally, the exotic black subject was always a feature of fashion, but rarely actually authored by like artists.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a really kind of major sea change, and I think it's getting a lot of people interested. Actually, a lot of those pictures are technically extremely good. So that's not an example of a. But it's an aesthetic
But
movement.
we wanted to see it.
Yes, it's an aesthetic movement. That's part of our role to kind of try to identify and make sense of what's going on and present it in a coherent way, and as well as presenting the work of individual artists and working with them to craft great.
How to change our point of view.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You are working with many other institutions, but many foundations.
Yes.
And could you tell us with which foundations you work together and how important these connections are to you?
Increasingly important. Our work with foundations is increasingly important because, well, in our slightly revised concept of what we're going to be in the future, we will thrive if we are successful at partnering. That is really key to our future. Heretofore, we were really trying to build on some great experience with working with foundations. We worked with the Hermes Foundation for a few years. We did a cycle of projects and we learned so much from that, and it was such a rewarding experience. I mean, that involved commissioning artists, creating a book. This is one of them, from Tasia Batnerjee, that resulted from that program. We work with many foundations. I mean, some rather straightforwardly help pay for things, like the Andy Warhol Foundation, the Luce Foundation. There's some private foundations that we work with because of individuals who decide to use those funds wanting to support the work that we're doing. We work with a lot of museums in different parts of the world, who of course they are also not-for-profit institutions. We work with SF MoMA and Crystal Bridges and Foam and the Photographers Gallery in Siegel Berlin as partners to present exhibitions related to that come from the work that we're doing. And I should add, we're also working very actively with consumer brands as well. So we're working with Airbnb, and project recently with Google, and we're working with Burberry are helping us with a project this fall. So if we do our job well, we're sort of at this apex of, well, artists, brands who value that content and can help us get it out in the world and reach new audiences, as well as support us financially. The foundations and museums, who are really the bedrock of our culture in America, which is very strong, and not forgetting at the heart of it all is the book, which is, we communicate on so many platforms. So many people experience the work that we do. There's on a wall, at an event, at a talk, online. Of course, we have more readers online than anywhere. But there's nothing like the physical object for anchoring that, and it's we sort of build all these activities around the book or an issue of the magazine.